Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So this is my 10-gallon quarantine tank, and the fish in here are going to be graduating and moving on to their intended aquariums, and they'll be making way for a new group of fish to be quarantined. So, and this is actually I've managed to keep this as a quarantine tank, a dedicated quarantine tank, unlike several of my other tanks that started as quarantine tanks and ended up being permanent tanks for like community fish and display tanks. But yeah, I'm kind of proud of myself to be able to maintain this as a quarantine tank, and going forward I expect I'll be able to keep that up. So yeah, so I'm going to move these fish that are currently in here. This group of fish it's the second group that's been in this quarantine tank since I set it up. I set up after I moved, and these are the Aqua Huna fish. So the first time I ever ordered fish online, ordered from Aqua Huna. This is what remains. I ordered what's left in here that lasted through quarantine are less than half of the fish that I ordered from Aqua Huna. I ordered 40 fish, received 35 alive, 5 were DOA, and then the rest died gradually along the way, except for these. So they've been in quarantine for almost 4 weeks, and after kept having some die almost every day the last up to 2 weeks, but beyond that the last couple weeks what's in here has remained. So these are the ones that are going to be moving. So these Rummy nose Tetras, I have 5 of those. They're tiny Rummy nose Tetras, and these tiny Panda Garras. All the Rummy nose Tetras, 5 of them, and in here 6 of the 8 Panda Garras are going to move to my 6-foot 84-gallon aquarium. This tank right here. So I have 2 of these Rummy nose Tetras that one's like a full-grown adult. That one's almost as big, and the ones that will be going in here are tiny. So we'll see how they do. Hopefully they're not too small for the biggest Roseline shark to eat them, but we're going to try it and see how that goes. And the otocinclus will be going in here. I did order 8 stir-by Corydoras with that Aqua Huna order. Unfortunately, none of them survived and lasted through quarantine to be added in here. So the next wave of fish going in here will not include Corydoras, but likely the next batch of quarantine fish that I just got will be some Corydoras for this tank. Alright, so then we have 1 fish in here that's going to go to one of my 40 gallons by itself. This one right here, that's the orange Venezuelan Corydora, and that's going in this 40 gallon to join another Venezuelan Corydoras that's already in here. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to do a water change of this tank and take out this Crinum calamastratum and this red melon sword that's behind this temple plant. So these 2 that are in pots, I just left them in here because they were intended to go to my 84-gallon tank. So I'm going to finally do that now. I think I'll take a stem of Scarlet Temple to go in there, and also this mystery plant that I don't even know where it came from. There's a few of these that started this little pod on the end that just appeared, and then the rest has grown out of it. So I don't know what that propagated from. I mean, maybe it was melon sword plant, kind of maybe would most resemble, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'll take that in there, and then then that would leave the 2 julii Corydoras, along with a couple of the Panda Garras. Those will go in this 40-gallon tank that has 1 julii Corydora and 2 full-grown adult Panda Garras. You can see one on top of the hang on back intake back there. And then after I move all those, then the fish that I have today, or that I got today from my fish haul from Petco and PetSmarts, those will go in the 40-gallon, and in the 10-gallon quarantine tank, and I'll show those when I release them. So I'm gonna stop moving stuff around and give little quick peeks of them along the way. So stand by. All right, all the fish have been gathered up. So from the quarantine tank to the 6-foot 84-gallon tank, we have 6 Panda Garras and 5 Rummy-nosed Tetras. So look at this, the size of that, the biggest roseline shark and the smallest Rummy-nosed Tetra. There was that concern that you might be able to eat it, which would be unfortunate, but I guess maybe we're going to try it. But worst case scenario, it gets eaten, and on the bright side, that roseline shark could get a good meal, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, ideally they'll be able to, as small as they are, grow in this tank, and then be fun to watch as they school together with the other Rummy-nosed Tetras. And I am planning on getting more. Adding these 5 to the 2 would be only 7. I want to get, maybe 20 along the way. So yeah. All right. So here, let's look at this as it is. So I'm going to be adding the more plants to it. So here we have the giant hair grass. I'm gonna put it back here, probably somewhere in the back, and a couple of the copacems got uprooted while I'm wet in the tank. I'm gonna put one back over here, and the other one I think I'm just gonna take out and move to another tank. And there's a loose bit of the sturgeon repens floating in here somewhere. So there's like one piece here, but I'll gather that up, put it there. I'm going to put the red melon sword here, the Crinum calamastratum here, and maybe some scarlet temple in here. I think that'll be it for the plants for now. I'll get an Anubias to kind of slot in right there. I don't think I'm going to do that tonight though, except we come from another tank that I'm not going to be involved with the moving that's happening tonight. Alright. So then for this 40-gallon breeder community tank, 2 julii Corydoras and 2 of the Panda Garras. So those will be released in here, and that'll be all the movement for this tank. And then my other 40-gallon, so that's where the orange Venezuelan corridor will be going to. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to do water change of this tank. I'm going to take out the Crinum calamastratum and the red melon sword, some scarlet temple, and those are going to be moved to the 84-gallon 6-foot tank. And of course, now that that batch of quarantine fish have graduated, this is the new class, the freshman class coming in. We have from one of the PetSmarts today. We have 5 julii Corydoras in here and 6 otocinclus. In the other PetSmart, there's 1 julii Corydora, a powder blue dwarf gourami, and 2 otocinclus. Even though this powder blue dwarf gourami is probably still has a little bit of like reddish tips and is not as powder blue as my previous one. And then in here, this is the Petco batch of fish that I got today, so a little bit of mix-ups. Right there in front, or well, there now. I did not buy that fish, that just came along. And for the emerald eye rasboras, I intended to buy the last 4 that were in the tank, but I think I might only have 3 in this bag, and the dude mistakenly put in a zebra danio. So it's a long-fin zebra danio right there. I mean, maybe that's an extra, it's hard to tell with all the fish moving around if I actually do have the 4 emerald eye rasboras. And then there's 7 emerald green Corydoras, 5 black neon Tetras, and 4 scissotail rasboras. At least that's what there should be. I mean, maybe once I let them out, I'll get a better idea of the count. Yeah, alright, so that's what all the fish are, where they're going to be. So we're going to acclimate them all, and then move some of those plants to the 84 gallon. And then once I have everything released, we'll take a look at everything in its place, so stand by. Alright, so all the fish have been moved and acclimated and released to their new homes. So what's different with this 40 gallon? Added 1 of these 2, and now I'm really not sure which is which. They look similar. One of them I got from Petco, sold as a red sailfin Venezuelan Corydoras, and the other I got from Aqua Huna, sold as a orange Venezuelan Corydoras. So don't really know, but yeah, it's good to have, well, at least 2 Corydoras in here, and want to add some more. So what else? The Crinum calamastratum, the bigger of the 2 that I had, was removed and moved to the 84 gallon 6-foot tank. And then the red melon sword, and I took a couple stems of the scarlet temple, and this was the stem floating in the 84 gallon that I just put in here. And I put some water Sprite that was floating, just stuck it in here. If you notice, the last few times I showed this tank, this Anubias, this is Anubias congensis, I do have a little thread that was holding it in place, but then it was loose and kind of floating, so I kind of wedged it in here because I want it to stay and the roots to cling to it so it stays still. And this dwarf aquarium lily is getting some big leaves. It was, when I got it, I just threw it in the quarantine tank, and not too long ago I moved it in here, and I haven't really pointed it out, but their leaves are getting big when it was not very much plant growth there. And then right next to it, this 40 gallon, I added 2 more julii Corydoras and the 2 small Panda Garras. I haven't seen the small Panda Garras in here yet. They kind of got lost in all the bushiness. The Java moss is really getting thick all over. There's one of the big adult Panda Garras. And not seeing the julii Corydoras. Not out in the open right now at the moment. Alright, well, let's check out the 84 gallon. Alright. So there's now 6 of these Panda Garras, and they've been active and out in the open mostly. And the 5 small Rummy-nosed Tetras, they seem to be sticking together in their own little school, while all the other bigger fish are in a separate pack. So it is kind of neat to see one pack of fish schooling, and then another little ones like that. And I did just see some Panda Garras scurrying by. And there's the newly added Crinum calamistratum and the giant hairgrass. Some here, there. I see a little piece hanging up right there. Some come up in the back. Some over here. And there's the red melon sword and the scarlet temple. So even though these plants kind of stand out in my other tanks, but just with the color of this tank, the greens stand out and the red not so much. But either way, once it grows bigger, it'll be more noticeable. But yeah, so this tank is coming along. More fish in it, more plants. Looking cool. Coming back to this 40 gallon, there's one of the newly added julii Corydoras. And I did just see some around the side here. Yeah. So there's the one I already had in here that's bigger, and the one just added. And then yeah, right there is one of the newly added Panda Garras, real tiny. So you have a lot of growing to do to catch up. So these guys. Alright, and then the last thing we're going to look at is the quarantine tank. Alright, so here is the newest batch of fish. So they will be in quarantine together for a little while. Make sure they're okay. I'll treat them with some medications. So we have the powder blue dwarf gourami, julii Corydoras, altogether there should be 6 of those, from 5 from one PetSmart, 1 from another, and then 7 of these emerald Corydoras. I think I was referring to those as bronze Corydoras, whichever they are. And should be 7 otocinclus in here altogether, 2 from one store and 5 from another. 5 black neon tetras, 4 scissotail rasboras. Those will join the 7 that I already have in the 84 gallon. And that's the red-eye tetra that I did not buy, that the dude at Petco scooped up accidentally and did not remove. I didn't notice that until I got it home. And not just that, but I intended to buy 4 of these emerald eye rasboras, and I only have 3 because the dude gave me a zebra danio instead. And there it is. So it's a longfin zebra danio. Yeah, that counts for all of them. So hopefully they'll all be okay, and then I'll be adding them to other tanks. And then by that time, maybe I'll have some more fish to quarantine, because I do still have more plans of getting more fish to add to different tanks, like Odessa barbs for the 84 gallon, and Carbensis for the 84 gallon. And maybe still some stir-by Corydoras I might try again. Yeah. Alright. Well, that's it for now. And remember, I'm Jeff, and I enjoy fishies. Thanks for watching.